よし、みんなやろう!
Have you ever wanted to get away from it all, to just escape the boredom of everyday life? Today we'll be discussing one of the most popular themes in present-day anime, the isekai notion. This is when the main character gets transported or trapped in another world or dimension. This could be due to several reasons, but for whatever the circumstance, they're forced to survive and deal with the new world and its peculiarities. We start off with probably the most popular anime on the list, Sword Art Online. If you've been watching anime for years, you've most likely watched or at least heard of Sword Art Online. There's been a lot of either immense support or hate it's generated, but with all things considered, it can still be called one of the more popular shows to have aired in recent years. The story's pretty much what you'd expect as a trapped in the MMO world genre goes. The protagonist, Kirito, is one of the initial players in VR MMORPG Sword Art Online. Everything's going great until people discover that they can't log out. The creator appears at this point and tells everyone that they won't be able to leave until someone beats the final boss on the 100th floor. Furthermore, if you die in the game, you die in real life. Kirito himself is somewhat of a badass, not in personality but in sheer power. It's fairly enjoyable to watch with its somewhat fragmented timeline and action-packed scenes.
感謝するぞルシフェル。ようやくこの姿に戻ることができた。
おお、サタン。マオさん。
Number 9 on the list is Devil is a Part-Timer. Devil is a Part-Timer is probably one of the more absurd and fun stories out there with a unique setup. In an alternate dimension, at the final crucial moment, Satan, along with one of his generals Alciel, gets sucked through an interdimensional portal. Unknown to them, the heroine Amelia also follows them. And here's where it gets fun. Of all places they could land on, it's in modern-day Tokyo that they land. Unfortunately for them, they're unable to use their powers in this strange land. They assume new identities as Mao and Shiro and rent a shabby apartment near Shinjuku. To survive in the jungle of modern life, Mao gets a job at McDonald's. Yep, you heard that right. Having these great overpowered characters go through their daily lives and overcome the predicaments they face will keep you smiling for sure. If the devil can struggle with everyday modern life, maybe there's a chance yet for all of us. At number 8 we have Log Horizon. The premise for Log Horizon isn't really new. It focuses on the idea of being trapped in an MMORPG. This has been done a few times now, however it's still quite refreshing for several different reasons. Elder Tale is the conventional fantasy MMO game that the players are trapped in. However, in the story of Log Horizon, the players become the in-game avatars that they're playing with. This is a highly captivating journey as we progress with our hero Shiroe, who must learn to live in this new world, lead others, and negotiate with the NPC natives in order to bring stability to the virtual city of Akihabara. If you enjoy stories that experiment with sociological or even economical themes, Log Horizon doesn't disappoint. It offers something different from the usual shows as there's lots of world building that takes place. At number 7, we have Drifters. An anime based on the manga of Hellsing creator Kota Hirano, this is a show about historical warriors called Drifters who are transported to a fantasy kingdom by a mysterious organization that keeps tabs on their activities. The two main characters, Shimazu and Nasu, are pulled from Japanese battlefields from different time periods, and they team up with none other than Oda Nobunaga. From the very first scene, Drifters is as merrily violent and over the top as you might expect, and the war within will have you leaping back and forth between your favorite sides. It's Drifters versus ends in a battle of historical pawns. This is definitely a show where fans of generation-spanning action will want to stick around through to the bitter end.
島津中塚様賞豊久推薦。
もっとよく面見せろ。
化け物。
お前俺と一緒に来るか。
At number 6, it's The Boy and the Beast. From Mamoru Hosoda, the creator of Wolf Children and The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, The Boy and the Beast's a beautiful film and story that explores the relationship between an average Japanese boy named Ren and a mythical beast known as Kumatetsu. Ren's run away from home after the death of his mother. His father doesn't seem to be around and he despises all the other members of his family, so he starts living in the streets of Tokyo. Kumatetsu wanders around Tokyo and ends up taking Ren in as a disciple. At its core, this is a story of two worlds colliding, the human world with the beast world. This is wonderfully shown in the conflicts and growing bond between the two. The chemistry between them is quite fun to watch and it really does establish a bond of family between the two. The stunning visuals as well as the amazing soundtrack make it quite engaging for everyone to get absorbed and completely take in a fun adventure waiting to happen.
悪魔の所相煉獄の衣。
The next entry on the list at number 5 is Overlord. Overlord brings up a very relatable theme for anyone who's played an MMORPG before, that of a favourite game being abandoned. The protagonist, a player who goes by the name Momonga, has been a devoted player of the virtual reality MMO game Yggdrasil. After investing days, weeks and years into building his skeletal character and his guild into one of the most notorious in the game, he finds himself alone with his world coming to an end, a world he's grown to love immensely. So when the time comes to pull the plug on the servers and he finds himself trapped inside this new reality, he seriously contemplates the question, if he could go back to the real world, would he even want to? What makes Overlord stand out is its different perspective. What happens if the villain is stuck in a game world? Overlord answers this question and goes back deeper into the realms of personal morality, having to take a back seat to keep up appearances. And with a cast of amusing demons, it ensures you'll have a good time on your hands.
君と見た世界さあ
Next up at number 4 and easily the funniest anime on the list, it's Konosuba. Have you ever played any role-playing games where you had to party up and take on quests as a group? Pretty fun, right? But what if you actually end up with some pretty useless members? You know, such as someone who usually gets eaten by a giant frog, or who'd wipe out the entire party after causing a huge explosion, or for that matter, a knight who misses with every swing of her sword. Well, that's basically the premise of Konosuba, with the only useful member being the one with the weakest stats. The story takes place after a traffic accident when Kazuma's disappointingly brief life has supposedly come to an end, but surprisingly, he's transported to a fantasy world filled with adventure and on the verge of being ruled by a demon king. Grouped with an obnoxious goddess named Aqua, masochistic crusader Darkness, and Megumin, an arch-wizard who can only really use one spell, this group of misfits makes for an entertaining show as they plan their escape from their various predicaments.
我々はここに205代エルキア国王
女王として
体感したことを宣言する。
At number 3, we have No Game, No Life. Imagine being stuck in a world where the whole world itself is a game. The story centers around two brilliant gamers, Sora and Shiro, a brother and sister duo who are legends on the internet. They consider the real world as just another crappy game and generally avoid it as much as possible. One day, they're summoned by a boy named Tet, the god of games, to an alternate world of Disboard. Here, God has prohibited war and declared it to be a world where everything will be decided by games. Even the national borders are decided by games. Everything is settled by predetermined stakes, be it one's memories or even the right to rule. It's quite an interesting setup that allows for a lot of intellectual moments. It's a fun adventure, well worth the watch if you haven't seen it already. At number 2, it's ReZero. ReZero's a psychological anime which came with an interesting concept at the time it was released, because of some of the darker consequences it hinted at. The story revolves around an 18-year-old boy named Natsuki Subaru who suddenly teleported to a fantasy world, a kingdom where humans, demons, spirits and demi-humans coexist. There he meets and eventually falls in love with a silver-haired half-elf named Satella. What makes this anime quite unique is that Subaru figures out that he's able to time leap every time he dies. This is similar to a video game where after you die, you'll respawn to a start point. However, in ReZero, this implies a much deeper meaning. And finally at number 1, it's Spirited Away. No list of different world scenarios can end without at least mentioning this anime. This story follows 10-year-old Chihiro. Her parents are moving into a new place in the suburbs. However, on the way to their new home, which by the way Chihiro's not looking forward to at all, they take a side trip and end up in a strange, eerie oriental town. With curiosity at this strange new place, she wanders around the town completely devoid of humans. This town appears to be a resting spot for Japanese spirits where they can relax in hot baths and generally have a good time. This includes eating good food, which unfortunately includes her parents, who've just so happened to turn into pigs. Chihiro's journey to try to free her parents is an amazing tale told with boundless imagination. The beautiful and complex imagery communicates an atmosphere and feel that's literally out of this world. So what do you think about this list then, eh? And which is your favourite anime out of these? Comment below and let us know. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want to see more anime related content, and leave a comment of what top 10 you'd like to see me do next. I'll see you next time on ViniTube.